Let me get to Victoria Coates, the Heritage Foundation. Victoria, you heard Bibi right there with me a couple of weeks ago. He was with President Trump yesterday, the Lindsey Graham funeral. Then they had a meeting. Trump once again showed his dominance, yelling at Bibi, don't tell me about Pickaxe Mountain. I know all about it already. I got great cameras, blah, blah, blah. I actually think that Bibi knew first. That's just my opinion. Either way, everything I heard, including a message personally from David Menzer and Dr. Opio Falk, was that the meeting went great between Bibi and Trump, and everything is better than fine. What do you think? Is Victoria there? Victoria?
Oh, sorry about that.
There you go. Okay.
I was contending with the Coates family dogs, and I didn't want to interrupt you.
That's okay.
Amazingly, the breathless report in Axios that a diminished Netanyahu had annoyed the president, and the meeting was going to be contentious, and there was friction, and there's daylight. It turned out not to be true. Once again, having tracked this relationship for now 8.5 years or whatever it's been, this happens every single time, and I guess it's clickbait. And so they keep publishing it, and it turns out not to be true because the president and the prime minister, yes, are big personalities. You've been in the room with both of them, and they both have very serious jobs. And what's more, they're both in an election cycle. And so, sure, there are going to be some points of disagreement, as the prime minister said, and as the president said. And, sometimes they're going to do things for political reasons that'll sort of annoy the other one, but it doesn't in any way threaten the bedrock of that relationship and the seriousness with which they take each other and with which they care for the alliance between our two countries, because they know it keeps us all safe.
100%. And you were sitting in that room with me. We were sitting together. You put on a great speech, actually, in Jerusalem less than a month ago when Bibi told us just what we heard yesterday, that him and Trump are great and they get along great. But like you said, those are two very big personalities. And you mentioned election, and Bibi, I believe the election is going to be in November. He's won 5 of the last 6. Despite when you speak to the Bibi detractors, they talk about his immense unpopularity in Israel and in New York and around the globe, yet he keeps winning all these elections. Somebody running against Bibi, one of these losers, actually came out yesterday and said that Israel kills babies as a hobby. This is somebody running for office in Israel. They want to beat Bibi so badly that they're willing to disparage the country's government. I found that to be disgusting.
Yeah, that doesn't really seem like a winning platform to me. To say to the people who suffered through October 7th, who have done the just terrible work of rebuilding the country after that evil day, that they're killing babies as a hobby. No, guess who does that? That's Hamas. And I don't think Hamas is going to get elected by the populace of Israel. So, as I said, not a winning message. As I understand it, we have a couple of visiting fellows resident in Jerusalem for Heritage who keep us up to speed on kind of the nitty-gritty of politics there. And they're telling me that it's not even close for Likud leadership, that it will be Netanyahu. The sort of number 2 in Likud is Amir Ophir, the Speaker of the Knesset, who's a terrific guy.
Yeah, great guy.
And it might be a future leader, but that right now it really does look like the only person who's going to be able to put the government together is Netanyahu. And I, for one, certainly would not bet against him.
Yeah, me either. And I'm endorsing him enthusiastically. He needs to win. In fact, I'm going to make it my mission to fly Israelis from New York to Israel so they can vote. I don't think New Yorkers even realize this. If you're Israeli and you're in New York, you can fly back to Israel and vote for Bibi, can't you?
Absolutely. I mean, if you're a dual citizen, that's what you can do. That's the whole point.
They need to do it. They need to make sure this man wins. It's been unbelievable what he's done the last couple of years since that tragic day. So where are we, Victoria, in this Iran situation? I know the U.S. and Saudi Arabia together beat up Iran a bit in Iraq, of all places, in Iraq yesterday. Seems like it's another ceasefire. I don't like these, that I'm on record saying that I want President Trump to finish the job. That bothers people like General Michael Flynn and Alex Jones and Joe Kent, these losers. But I feel that way. I felt that way since the very, very beginning. But how do you feel about where we are right now about this conflict?
Yeah, well, I think starting with the action with the United States and Saudi Arabia, this is really important, and this is what we're going to be talking about in a year, Sid. I don't think we're going to be talking about the Iranian regime anymore because I don't think they can fix the problems that they have. But I think we're going to be talking about a new Middle East, and we've had Kuwait and Bahrain take independent strikes against Iran. We've had UAE take independent action against Iran. We are essentially using Jordan as a large military base at this point. I met with their essentially the chairman of their Joint Chiefs when he was in Washington last week, and they've said they're open to everything the United States wants to do, bigger bases. And then last night we had the Saudis and the United States together do strikes on Iraq, which means the new prime minister of Iraq signed off on that. It means he doesn't want his country run by these Shia militias anymore. It means the Saudis are sick of having their energy infrastructure menaced by the militias, and they're going to do something about it. So this is everybody out lining up with the Americans and the Israelis and against the Iranians. That's a huge development. So I think this can be a very effective tool that we can use to leverage all of the arms we've sold the Saudis, all the training we've done for them in Pensacola and other places to get after these enemies. And it's not just the Shia militias. I think it's also going to be the Houthi in Yemen. Saudis aren't very fond of them either.
No.
So very good news along those lines.
You guys are doing great work at the Heritage Foundation. Victoria quotes with this story. I'm going to read 2 paragraphs. Newly released audio tapes discovered by a conservative activist group appeared to show Joe Biden sharing classified information with the biographer, and sometimes claiming memory lapses during interviews that occurred before his election to the presidency in 2020. About 3 hours of audio and 117 pages of transcripts with many redactions were released by the Oversight Project, an arm of your group, the Heritage Foundation, after Biden lost a prolonged legal fight to keep his conversations with his memoir ghostwriter Mark Lewis Zwanitzer private. So, as it turns out, Joe Biden, the former president, the cadaver himself, was sharing a whole bunch of very, very secret information with a ghostwriter. That's terrible.
Oh, it's absolutely outrageous. And bear in mind, this is the administration under Biden that raided President Trump's room, apartment, or whatever it is, in Mar-a-Lago for what they claimed was classified information.
Oh, my God. Worse than that, they went into Melania's underwear drawer. They were disgusting. And correct me if I'm wrong, doing this audio stuff, Biden said he had no idea. He walked downstairs and, oh, my God, here's some more classified documents.
Right. They were in a box beside his Corvette. And, I mean, he had not been president at that point. He did not have declassifying authority. And Mike Howell and his group at Oversight are just a national treasure for us. They've been working so hard to get this information out there. All the Democrats just keep saying, oh, it's in the past. We resolved that. It's not a problem anymore. No, people have to be held accountable because they don't act normally in terms of politics. They just switch people out at will. They don't follow the rules of democracy. And they'll shove somebody like Biden, who was incompetent before the election. That's what this proves, is the 2020 election was fraudulent because the candidate wasn't competent. And that is just such an outrage, and we can't let it just pass because they'll do it again. And, today it's Biden, tomorrow it's Graham Plattner. You pick, you're out of the alphabet soup of just wildly incompetent people they're trying to have govern us. And so all kudos to Mike. This is really important information, and we are enormously proud of Project Oversight.
I'm glad you're doing it. Look, a lot of people make excuses for Biden, even my own friends on this station and hosts and popular people. He didn't know what he was doing. Stop it. Stop it. Yes, there was an element of that. There's no question that Joe Biden had his cognitive issues. I know that. But to completely say, that, no, you can't blame him, that's nonsense. He did a lot of stuff he knew. When he sits there and goes, that son of a bitch, talking about the lawyer in Ukraine, he knew what he was talking about. He knew what money he was getting, and Hunter and all those cases that Miranda Devine, who will join me later, made popular, and Rudy Giuliani and the computer and all that stuff. So the idea that Joe Biden was just, completely out of it and had no idea what he was doing his whole presidency. And before, I reject that notion. Sorry.
No, I do too. And even if you do grant them that, then who did know what was going on? Obviously, Dr. Jill had to know what was happening, and she facilitated it and aided and abetted it for her own personal power and for her money. And one thing I do think is funny, though, Sid, is Biden is coming out with yet another book that's coming out right around the election. So hopefully it'll be a repeat of Jill's disastrous book rollout. And right around the election, we're going to be talking about how incredibly bizarre Biden's behavior is, how incompetent he was, and gee, do we really want to hand the keys back to the Democrats?
That's a great point. God, that's going to help us big time. Victoria, as always, amazing work. Israel, Joe Biden, Iran, all of it. The Heritage Foundation does great stuff. You're amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sid. Take care.
All right, Victoria Coates right there.
Thanks for listening to Sid and Friends in the Morning. You can hear Sid and Friends in the Morning weekday mornings at 6. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?